Hey, good morning. How y'all doing? It is Well Red Beard. It's a damn fine day to talk about a book, and today we are here for Beard on King episode 34, and we're going to talk about Gwendy's button box. We're going to talk about this because I was going to talk about it, which I just finished, and I'm just not ready to yet, based on a scene that happens very, very late in the book that, like the grown-ups in Derry, Maine, I apparently have just blocked from my memory until now upon reread. So, yeah. So we're going to talk about Gwendy's Button Box. I really like this book. I four-star like this book. I like Gwendy as a character. I like the entire storyline of Richard Ferris and the button box and the little treats and rewards that it gives out. And I mean, some of that to me is kind of vague as far as like the general purpose, I guess, like why you would give it to a little kid and why it exists, anyways. But you get more information. I can say that you get more information about that through subsequent books. This is a very, very short read, 170 pages. Again, King and Richard Chizmar. And I did it in audio. It was the way I read at 1.2 speed, it was like 2 hours and 36 minutes. So I knocked this out in a single morning while doing some chores, folding some laundry, this and that. So it's kind of an odd situation where King and Chismar wrote the first one together, and then King, I mean, my understanding is anyway, King did not participate in book two. Richard Chismar wrote book two. It says the foreword is by King, and then Stephen King came back to help with the final one, which I'm currently doing right now. So, again, I really like Gwendy. I, I like the coming of age aspects of it. I love the idea that we go back to Castle Rock, which is really cool because Needful Things, which is somewhere over there. The cover of Needful Things says it was the last Castle Rock story. So we get to go back to Castle Rock, but we're really going back in time. So it's, anyways. So let me give you a little synopsis. The little town of Castle Rock, Maine has witnessed some strange events and unusual visitors over the years. But there is one story that has never been told until now. In the summer of 1974, 12-year-old Gwendy Peterson encounters a stranger sitting on a park bench, dressed in black jeans, a black coat, and a black bowler hat. Unusual for such a warm day. This man in black is here in Castle Rock, specifically to pass along an obligation for Gwendy that is both fantastic and terrifying. On his behalf, and for an unspecified period of time, she must take possession of and hide from the rest of the world a small mahogany box adorned with multicolored buttons and levers. The reward for safeguarding the box will transform her life in ways Wendy could never imagine, but the price to pay for her failure could very well mean the end of everything. She has to safeguard this thing, and for doing so, there's a lever on one side that she pulls and gets like a little chocolate. It's best tasting chocolate you can imagine, and it's always a little animal, and everyone is different. And on the other side, periodically she pulls a lever, and it produces like I think it was 1891, an 1891 Morgan silver dollar, which you know the time of this, I mean, I want to say they were worth, let's just say $500, but like over time they go up to like $800 or whatnot. So a nice little chunk of change that she's able to kind of sock away for the future. But if you push the buttons on the box, and there's each color represents a different continent. So blue is North America, and I think green is Asia, and so on and so forth. And if you push those buttons, a tragedy happens in those places. And so while she's young and experimenting with the box, and I mean, there's also a red button that I think is anything you want. Like, you can just imagine or say what you want to happen and hit the red button. And then there's a black button, which feels like, I mean, it's referred to as the cancer button by our 10-year-old, or however old she is. Does it say there? 10-year-old Gwendy. It feels like it's apocalyptic, into the world. If you push the black button, that's it, game over. Um, she experiments with this, plays with it, tries to pick a place in Guyana, uh, where it's supposed to be like zero population, no population, and in doing so, she believes she is responsible for the Jim Jones, yeah, cult drinking the Kool-Aid type event. So the button box, the chocolates, whatever, gives her powers, so to speak, powers of intuition, and it just generally good things happen to her. She's, um, you know, I mean, she was a chubby little kid, for lack of a better way of putting it, and she, I mean, is beautiful and popular, and the future is bright for Gwendy. So much so that in the next book, I won't go too far into it, but we jump ahead, and she is a U.S. Congresswoman. But yeah, it was cool to go back to Castle Rock. So just because of that, there are ties to other works, things going on. I don't know if it's this one or if it's later books, but Derry is definitely mentioned as a town that's a couple hours away from Castle Rock, but as the horrible things that have happened in Derry. This is 1974. So the horrible things that have happened in Derry in 1958 and other years, it's on 27-year segments. But so there's definitely ties to it, which is cool because I finished it and went straight into this, and I did not know necessarily that there were ties to it. So yeah, I mean, for what it is, for a short little Stephen King, Richard Chizmar read, I really liked this. I liked, again, the idea, and I'm a huge fan of Gwendy. Now, um, I'm just going to say here, because again, you may not make it to the other videos, but I don't think I'm a super fan of the other books. I mean, again, like for me, if I get a character that I like, I often go back to the idea of Ender in, Orson Scott Card's Ender's Game. Like, I was reading that book a long, long time ago. I was liking that book. I realized that this was a series, that there were a bunch more, or at least a handful more of those books. And then I realized that we were jumping. I, I'm going to speak loosely because it's been a long time, but we were jumping to a new world. We were jumping thousands of years into the future. Everybody that we knew other than Ender was no longer a part of it. So while it was a sequel, it was like a whole nother world, and it turned me off, And so in this one, book 2, we jump to Gwendy as an adult, like deep into adulthood, not like she's a 25-year-old or whatever. She's like, I guess, mid-40s. Like I said, she's a U.S. Congresswoman. And so for that, like, I don't know. It is what it is. I'm not the author. Authors can do whatever they want. But for me, like, I really liked the character and the story in this one. And it felt like it's kind of squandered, because, now we've moved so far ahead that it's not that I care a lot less, but you kind of get what I'm saying. But anyway, this one on its own, 4 stars. Stephen King, Richard Chizmar, Wendy's Button Box. I'll be coming back tomorrow, I think, to talk about it and the controversial scene. So this has been Well Redbeard. It's been my review. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you're enjoying all your books, all of them, as much as I am. If not, you're reading the wrong damn books.